Joining us right now to talk all things college basketball, we'll do a little NFL as well. One of my favorites, our Westwood One Sports teammate, co-host of BetMGM Tonight, weeknights 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, along with our friend Pat Boyle here on Westwood One Sports, the one, the only, the legendary Brad Evans, on Twitter at Noisy Huevos. Brad, welcome back to the show. Happy Tuesday. Hola, amigo.
Hola, amigo, and Merry March Madness to you and yours.
I miss having you on the show. And for the people that are like, what does Nick mean by that? For newer listeners and viewers, back when we were in our older time slot and we would go off the air at 7, Brad would come on the air right after us on the old BetMGM network, and we would do crosstalk at the end of the show every day. And I always found it very entertaining. You join us for like 3 to 5 minutes at the end of every single show. And I'm upset that we didn't do this spot on a Wednesday so you could say what to us, Brad Evans?
Hump day!
Or to have you on a Thursday so you could say what?
Bartender, pour us a tequila stat on a hashtag Tequila Thursday.
Oh, my friend, it is great to have you on the show. You and Pat Boyle are doing an awesome job on BetMGM Tonight, evenings here on Westwood One Sports. I want to get your opinion as we move along on David Montgomery. You know, you're a big David Montgomery fan. Brad does a ton of fantasy football work. Montgomery going to the Houston Texans and some National Football League. But I'll hit you with the question that I tweeted out yesterday that is like still getting circulated. If I gave you those 4 teams that I referenced, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Florida, or the field to win the national championship, who is Brad Evans taking and why?
Yeah, it's going to be one of the 4 that you outlined there. And Florida right now is my highest number 2 seed on my bracket big board. You're not familiar with it? Well, I've been doing it for 18 damn years, going back to my Yahoo Sports days. It is free. It is a power ranking. It's different from what Joey Brackets does at ESPN, where he actually puts teams on bracket lines. I don't go that route. Again, it's a true blue power ranking 1 through 68. I update it now through Selection Sunday, again, for free at thegamingjuice.com. It's going to be one of those 4, again, that you mentioned. I got a ticket on the Florida Gators to be back-to-back national champions. I grabbed it about a month and a half ago. I got it at 14-1 for Florida to cut down the nets yet again. And, man, they're just a wagon right now in every single facet of the game. They have the best front court in college basketball. Ruben Chenilo, Alex Condon, and Thomas Hawk. The guard play has really elevated, and that was a question mark. That was the area of inconsistency with this team about a month ago, but Boogie Flynn and Xavier Lee have really elevated their games. They've gotten stellar play off the pine. They weren't particularly deep earlier this year, but they've gotten deeper. They just, blow out people left, right, rinse and repeat. Whether it's with their defensive chops, whether it's their scoring prowess, they have all the goods. Todd Golden and company are going to be a tour de force come NCAA tournament time. I know everybody's on the Duke bandwagon, but they went toe-to-toe, if maybe for a national title or in the Final Four. I think Florida might be the team to beat. The 1B in that equation are the Michigan Wolverines, which I also have a ticket at plus 450. They show no weaknesses as well. But, yes, it is going to be ultra chalky. The NCAA tournament season, assuming the Florida Gators do land on the 1 line, and I think inevitably they will usurp UConn in that area.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So just to slam that home, Brad, do you think ultimately those will be the 4-1 seeds? And there's a lot, obviously, we still have a couple regular season games plus conference tournament play next week. But your best guess is the 4-1 seeds are those 4 teams that we mentioned, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Florida.
Yeah, the only question that is lingering right now is UConn and Florida. That's it. And you might say, well, UConn, what have they really done to deserve a number 2 seed? Well, they haven't done anything negative, but the fact they play the Big East, which is number 5 in all the power ratings that are out there among the conferences, while the SEC is number 1. I know a lot of us are arguing with the Big 12 is stronger, the Big 10 is stronger, but top to bottom, the SEC is the strongest league. According to the advanced analytics and metrics that are out there, whether you're looking at KenPom, Torvik, Haslametrics, the net, it really doesn't matter. And that will buoy, I think, Florida in the end, as long as they don't stub their toe. If they make it to the SEC tournament final, I think inevitably they're going to top UConn and land on that 1 seed line, even if UConn were to run roughshod through the Big East Conference tournament. Again, just speaks to the company that you keep. And right now, Florida has an edge in that area, far and away so compared to the UConn Huskies.
And look, UConn wins the Big East tournament. There will be like one super impressive win in that run. That'll be St. John's, and presumably they'd play in the final. Whereas Florida would have to beat a number of really good teams if Florida wins the SEC tournament. Now, pencil, not pen for this answer. If this plays out, right, I know you said you think the national champion will come from that group of four, and that you do think those four teams, again, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Florida, those will be the four number ones. We don't know what the bracket's going to look like. Like, we don't know, like, the region where UConn will be the two, where Houston will be the two. Pencil, not pen here. So you have the right to change your mind, right, depending on what happens this week and next week. Do you think that you will fill out all 4 1 seeds to make the Final Four? I know you said you think the national champion's one of those 4, but do you think that those will be the 4 Final Four teams, Brad, assuming they are all the 4 number ones?
More than likely. I got to see the draw. I got to see the path. That is always paramount in my assertion of certain teams and how far they're going to inevitably make it. But as it currently stands, going in blind and not seeing what that road is to Indianapolis in the Final Four, yes, I think it's going to be ultra chalky yet again, with all 4 number 1 seeds reaching the mecca of college basketball, and that being the Final Four. So, yes, pencil me. Don't break out the Sharpie, but pencil me in for that to occur.
You better you bet on this Tuesday. Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. Our guest from BetMGM tonight, our Westwood One Sports teammate, the great Brad Evans, on Twitter at Noisy Huevos. So as part of, Brad, like the tweet that I sent out yesterday at the Kostos, right? Those 4 top teams or the field, it seemed to me in all the replies that I got that it's basically UConn. Like, that's the question. Is it one of these 4 teams or Connecticut? Do you see it that way, where UConn is the only other team outside of those 4? This is not a Final Four conversation, like who can win 4 games. This is a who can win 6 games conversation. Who can cut down the nets and be the national champion? Outside of the top 4, is it only Connecticut? Are there other teams that you think could potentially win 6 games? Would you even include UConn in that conversation as a potential? Break it down for us outside of the top 4.
Look, I still have tickets out on the Houston Cougars to win the national title. Grabbed them at 9-1 to achieve that. I think my Illinois Fighting Illini are still in that conversation as well. Advanced Metrics Darlings. I made the drive over to Indiana earlier this season and grabbed at BetMGM at 20-1 for them to cut down the nets. UConn has its warts. They're not the greatest three-point shooting team outside of Alex Caravan. What version of solo ball are you going to get? He's been a roller coaster ride this entire season. I have questions about the Huskies, and way too often down this home stretch with St. John's very much excluded. They're still missing shots in that last match in which they missed 24 straight. They built skyscrapers there in New York with the bricks that they laid. But UConn has really played with their food against some meat competition there in the Big East. So if that were to carry over, they were trying to sleepwalk through their area of the bracket, could lead to their early exit. So I have some concerns about them. Illinois is the tallest team in the nation. With the Ivasiches, Stojakovic as well, a guy that on the wing presents a lot of matchup problems. Keith Wagler is likely going to be an NBA lottery pick. They have the depth, they have the goods, they have the balance. Defensively, they do have some question marks. But if they are, hitting and firing on all cylinders, they're the greatest offensive team in the history of KenPom, folks, on a per-possession basis. If they can somehow get stinking white hot, Illinois in their own backyard, Indianapolis only an hour and about 50 minutes away from Champaign-Urbana, they could essentially play what would feel like a home environment inside Lucas Oil if they were to make it that far. And it's going to be prime motivation. They're in action tonight against Oregon. They're favored by 20.5, I believe, or 18.5, I think is the last line. I'd probably lay it with the Illini. They have got to get right, and they've got to, iron out a lot of these wrinkles that they suffered from here. But they're going to be very much in the conversation to make a very deep run in the NCAA tournament, along with the Houston Cougars, just due to their unique style of play.
Brad, let's talk about Miami of Ohio. And one of the reasons why I love asking you this question, and just for the people in the audience that may not know this, Brad is locked in on college basketball in a way that, like, not a lot of people that do this for a living are from the start of the season to now. So Brad is not just showing up and like, here's my opinion on Miami of Ohio. He's been following them all season. So the Redhawks are the last remaining unbeaten team in college basketball at 29-0. And, whether it's Bruce Pearl on Turner Sports saying he doesn't think they're an NCAA tournament team unless they win their conference tournament despite the undefeated record, a lot of varied opinions about Miami of Ohio, and this will only ratchet up heading into next week, obviously, to Selection Sunday. Break it down for us. Like, how good actually is Miami of Ohio? Are they making the NCAA tournament no matter what happens? Give us the Brad Evans scouting report on Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, a lot of people are really divided over this team, and I'm one of them. Look, I think Bruce Pearl actually had some, sensible comments. And there are a lot of question marks about this team, despite the undefeated mark, the lopsided record. The WAB wins above bubble, which is all the rage right now, according to the selection committee, and they're top 30 in that measurement. I think ultimately here's the deal with Miami, Ohio. The committee always preaches all about who you played and who you beat. Well, they don't satisfy either one of those categories, quite honestly. And let me break it down for you. Yes, they're unblemished, but they're number 346 in the nation in strength of schedule. If you look at the overall resume, they've only played one quad one or quad two opponent. It wasn't a quad one. They played one quad two and, of course, beat them. They have 14 wins against quad fours. They have played absolutely no one. So the margin for error is extraordinarily slim for them. I think if they lose a game, if they get tripped up, not in the regular season, but in the MAC tournament, and I know they're in action tonight, should be able to take care of business. I believe they're playing Kent State. But let's say they stub their toe in the MAC tournament. They catch that L. I think ultimately what is going to happen, Kostos, because they're such a divisive team, they're a lightning rod. People want to watch them. People want to see this story play out. They're going to place them in Dayton. They're going to be a first four team in their own backyard, which is a major win for Miami, Ohio. I mean, that's just minutes away from campus is Dayton in that part of the state. So it's going to essentially be a quote-unquote home game against a middling, high major team. They probably beat them, and they probably silence their critics, and then they get walloped in the round of 64 against whoever they match up with. So I that's my gut feeling of how things are going to play out and how the committee approaches them. If they get a loss, and of course, if they go undefeated, they're going to automatically be in with the auto berth. But if they get a loss, they will be placed in Dayton. They will jump, say, in Indiana, maybe a Santa Clara's on the backside of the bubble, and they're probably going to win whoever they match up with. So that is my gut feeling of how this shakes out with the Redhawks. Wally Szczerbiak, I think, will win a game in the play-in, and then, again, get bounced in the round of 64.
I was going to go with Ben Roethlisberger, but Szczerbiak probably a little better since, he plays basketball. Lightning round here to close, Brad, like 30 seconds per answer. Sure. What should our listeners and viewers be watching for this week into the weekend as far as bubble teams go in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, well, upcoming, we got Indiana, Ohio State. That is early next week. It's not even this weekend. That is an extremely bubblicious matchup. So that one, the action with Santa Clara in the WCC tournament is going to begin ramping up in New Mexico, and what they're able to do there in the Mountain West. So got a huge bubble win over the weekend last weekend against San Diego State. So all those teams certainly need to monitor. And of course, we've got early mid-major conference tournament action as well. And I'll naturally be tuned into that.
All right, so that's the thought on the bubble teams. Brad, what about a team that could be a mid-seed in the NCAA tournament that you think could be a bracket disruptor in about 30 seconds?
Wisconsin. Look, they've got arguably the best road wins of any team in the country this season. They won at Michigan. They won at Illinois. They have outstanding guard play in Blackwell and Boyd. The front court's a little bit suspect. But they shoot over 50% of their shots from way downtown. If they catch fire from outside, and with those guards attacking downhill, getting to the free throw line and converting those opportunities, that's a team that can knock out a 2 seed and taste sweetness this year, likely on the 7 line, or the Badgers.
30 seconds for this one. You have been a longtime supporter of mandatory Montgomery, as you call him. David Montgomery traded to the Houston Texans yesterday. I love it for Jahmyr Gibbs in fantasy. I don't like him or Woody Marks really in Houston. Give us the fantasy spin, Brad, on David Montgomery to the Houston Texans.
Yeah, Gibbs automatically in the number one overall conversation in fantasy football drafts coming up this summer. Meanwhile, going to H-Town, somebody rocking, knocking her boots. Dave Montgomery probably going to be 60-40 heavy side of a RBBC there. Primary goal line guy. Probably going to score anywhere between 7 and 9 touchdowns, 1,100 combined yards. He's going to go as an RB3 in 12-team fantasy drafts and probably churn out a borderline top 20 line, though that offensive line has got a lot of question marks, needs some investment, so that he's got quite a supportive defense and a guy that is still a break tackle machine, unlike Woody Marks.
Final question, Brad. Give us your one best bet for tonight in college basketball.
Yeah, I'm going to roll in Nebraska. It's down to a pick 'em at UCLA. I know they have a top 10 ranking next to name, and you got a home team in UCLA that's scratching and clawing to try to solidify their resume. But Nebraska, they're 7-2 straight up on the road this year. Far and away, the better team. Maybe even live bet this one. Nebraska usually stumbles out of the gate, but they rev the engine in the second half. On the late night tip, brew a pot of coffee, slam an espresso. Give me the Huskers, baby, to take out Mick Cronin, who is sure to be a curmudgeon after the game.
I like the other side of that game. I like UCLA. So one of us will be happy. If it's, if we're going by my recent track record, Brad, that person will be you. BetMGM tonight and every weeknight with Brad Evans and Pat Boyle. Brad and I will have some fun stuff to announce as we move into the month of March. We look forward to that. Brad, great job on the show. We look forward to checking you and Pat out tonight on Westwood One Sports.
Cincinnati -1.5. I'm out.